Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Ramzan Mubarak. We'll be talking about the political situation, discussions on the 18th Amendment, opposition versus the government, the political tussle between the centre and the Sindh. What kind of situation will this pan out into, especially in the wake of Corona, the current circumstances, all of that, and Maulana Fazlur Rahman again, who seems to be getting active again in the backdrop of these circumstances as they pan out in the near future. Let's talk about all of that today. I have with me Ahmed Jawad, who's the Central Information Secretary for PTI. Thank you for joining us today. Sadiqul Farooq, who's leader PMLN. Thank you for being with us. And Faisal Kareem Kundi, who's a former Deputy Speaker and also leader PPP. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Ji, starting off with you, Jawad Sahab, how do you see the situation between the centre and the provinces at this time, considering the fact that there, of course, the devolution and the way that it has happened is creating certain ripples. There are a lot of talks going on. Do you think that the government at this time will be able to get the kind of agreement that they want out of the opposition? It certainly seems difficult at this time.
I think, voice, what I have understood, I'll try to explain. First of all, I just request you to please correct my designation. It is Central Secretary Information. It is not Central Deputy Secretary Information. So please correct this designation. Secondly, what I have understood from you, because the voice was cutting in between, that you want to know about the situation between the federal and Sindh province, how they can work together. Right. So I think ever since the Corona crisis has started, the most important thing was there should be a central coordination forum where federal and the provinces can sit together and can give feedback, suggestions, and come out of this forum as with a consensus. Not that every time that when there is some decision and once we come out, then there is a difference of opinion and there is a different understanding.
Let me clarify you, since you had a problem, there was a distortion, you couldn't hear also. What I meant to, what I really need to ask you about is the discussions on the 18th Amendment that have been going on between the government and the provinces at this time. Do you think that there can be an agreement on it? Of course, it's early days yet, but what are your thoughts on that? And, do you think that there can be common ground? Because, we've seen like how with Sindh, of course, there have been issues and there are different, there's a different government in Sindh. Of course, in Punjab, what's the situation in Punjab at this time? Do you think that things can come to an agreement, or are they going towards that? What are your thoughts on this?
You see, for any change in the constitution, the first step is the idea, the concept, the suggestion. And the amendments in the 18th Amendment, we first have to bring a draft. What are the amendments we would like to have in the 18th Amendment? And then we have to obviously share in the Parliament. We have to share with the upper house. And then we have to do a discussion, a deliberation, and a debate with all the stakeholders. And obviously, when a consensus is reached, a near consensus is reached, then the resolution is brought into the Parliament. So at this stage, there is only, we have just brought up this idea that there is a need to bring some changes in the 18th Amendment, and this is under discussion. And there should not be any surprise on this suggestion, because a constitution has been amended many times in the past, and I think the objective every time is to improve the constitution with the feedback and consultation of Parliament and the provinces. So this time
let
also...
me come back to you. Jawad Sahab, let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Faisal Kareem Kundi, who is the leader PPP. Ji, Faisal Sahab, do you agree with what Jawad Sahab is saying? Of course, essentially, there can be, to make things better, to iron out any problems that are being faced at this time. Of course, there can be agreement and constitutional changes have been made in the past, which is what Jawad Sahab is saying. But do you think that there is, with the kind of relationship particularly Sindh has had with the centre in the recent past, do you think that there is a possibility of that happening here and now?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The problem is that my friend Jawad has said something which I have heard about it. The thing is that this is not the matter of Sindh or Punjab or something. 18th Amendment, first you are discussing about you want to retrieve back the 18th Amendment or whatever, or you want to bring some constitutional amendment. For that, you don't need to talk to provinces. For that, you need two-third majority in the parliament, in the Senate and the National Assembly. They will have the joint session, and with the two-third majority, you have to pass this constitutional amendment. Right now, government didn't have the simple majority to pass anything. They have to consult their allies, and then they have to consult the opposition also. Right now, when they are discussing, we are fighting war against Corona. We should first focus about war. What's the need of, why they are in such a hurry for this 18th Amendment thing when they don't have any simple majority? First, we should fight war against...
What do you think is behind, according to you, what is behind this unnecessary, in your opinion, speed on trying to get the ball rolling as far as the 18th Amendment is concerned? Tweaking it, so to speak.
They might have the reason behind it. I can't say it because, first of all, we all want. As a opposition, we always say that we should fight Corona war together. Then if they want to bring constitutional amendment or whatever, then they can come with the two-third majority. Unless opposition is on board, they can't do it. PPP has right away stated that we are not going to do anything regarding 18th Amendment. Right now, this is the point in this war.
Do you think you're categorically against this, or do you think because of the timing of this move towards the 18th Amendment, or is it just because you feel that the 18th Amendment doesn't need any amendments and you're satisfied with the way that it has happened, with its provisions, with the way that things have been handed out to the provinces?
Right now in this war, federal needs to support provinces. They need to give something to provinces. They are not supposed to take something from provinces. So now, as a federation, as an elder brother, federation has to give support to the provinces. Not they should come down and they said, okay, whatever you have, give it to the federal. And I don't know what's the reason behind. I have heard about some of the members of the Allies Party who have categorically said that we will not support rollback of 18th Amendment. They were also the part of the 18th Amendment. For 18th Amendment, you need to take all the stakeholders on board. You have to consult with the political parties. Right now, if you see this 2 years government, I haven't seen or nobody has seen Prime Minister sitting with the opposition political leaders or something like this. This can't happen. In our time when it was happening, all the political leaders were on board. There was a committee, there was a commission who had so many meetings. And for 18th Amendment, we have got 100 plus amendments. It's not that easy.
But of course, it's not. You're right. It's not something that will probably be as simple as It will take time. It will take discussions. But if it principally moves towards a better, a better 18th Amendment, a better perhaps, provisioning of things, do you think that the PPP will then be willing to sit with the central government on this? Will they be willing to talk about it? Will they be willing to tweak the 18th Amendment then, if it will move towards a betterment for all provinces and the centre also, ironing out issues, ironing out problems, ironing out difficulties, will you be then willing to agree on it?
Thing is, if they want to bring any constitutional amendment, they are talking about the 18th Amendment. 18th Amendment is something which is 100 plus amendments. If they want to bring some positive constitutional amendment, they should bring the constitutional amendment, sit with the opposition parties, and they should bring the constitutional amendment. If they want to bring some positive constitutional amendment, we will support it. If they are, but which we have, they can't interpret, or which they are saying that we want to roll back 18th Amendment, which is not that easy task. So that is very difficult task, and people party will not support at any cost a rollback of 18th Amendment.
Right. I'll come back to you. I'm going to go to Jawad Sabji. Jawad Sab, of course, we've seen how the legislation's been coming about. There's been a, usage of ordinances by and large. Why has the government not made an effort, particularly, to combat the situation, to bring the opposition on the same page, to get the kind of cooperation that should perhaps have made things easier? And why open the Pandora's box of this 18th Amendment at this crucial time, when I'm sure you agree, and like Kundi Saab is also saying, that we are in the midst of fighting a very real corona war? Why now?
You see, the coronavirus now in Pakistan, it's about has entered in the 9th week, and it may continue for few more weeks or few more months. We are not very sure. Nobody can exactly predict when their coronavirus will be over. Now, I think, like many other countries, the leadership in every country has started thinking about coexisting with the coronavirus. And now coexisting means that we have to run affairs of the government.
Take things in stride and deal with other issues also.
We cannot just wait that once the coronavirus is over, only then we will talk about any amendment in the constitution or bring any law in the parliament or do other things. So in my opinion, it's time that we should try to come back to our normal routine of working as far as possible. I'm not saying that we should immediately jump to the routine life before coronavirus. What I'm saying is that all those things which can be held or discussed or which can be executed respecting the minimum level of coronavirus and preventions. So I think lawmaking is a subject which of course can start in this situation, and using technology you can form committees. They can participate in the committee, in the deliberation, in the debates, in formulating drafts and taking inputs and feedbacks. You do not need to sit down together till the time there is some consensus on the draft proposal. And now
we're having a slight distortion from your background. There's some noise. If you can kindly have that turned down, please, Jawad Sab. Ji. Okay, I'll come back to you. I'm going to go to Siddiqul Farooq, who's leader PMLN. Ji, Siddiqul Farooq Sab, has the PTI contacted you? Has the government made an effort to contact the PMLN, try to take them on board? Where are things as far as that is concerned? Are there any efforts from the government side? Do you think, have they tried to perhaps, get, of course you're a major chunk of the opposition, to get you on their side, so to speak?
Thank you so much. So I'll draw your attention towards the statement given by Foreign Minister Mr. Qureshi and the recently appointed Information Minister, who have categorically said that it is not a time suitable for amending the Constitution. So there is confusion in almost everything, all matters, whether it is Corona, whether it is economy, whether it is 18th Amendment, in government ranks and files. And this confusion is created not less than a person than Prime Minister Imran Khan himself. Now here, their spokesman is saying that legislation must be made. But it is not as simple as legislation. It is going to amend the Constitution, which needs two-thirds majority. Yes. So is there, the political atmosphere is suitable for that? Have they achieved consensus? Have they invited all political parties, have they called all parties conference? So their efforts and their actions belie their statements.
Right. Okay. I will come back to you, Farooq Sahab. I'm going to go to Jawad Sahab again. Jawad Sahab, do you know, like Sadiqul Farooq was saying, there seems to be some confusion even between the PTI itself as far as, you know, the constitutional amendment with regard to the 18th Amendment is concerned. There, you know, on the one hand, some of the leaders feel that it's not the right time. Even someone as important and central as, you know, Shah Mahmood Qureshi seems to feel that. So is there some confusion? There is, you know, is everybody not on board with this idea of taking this crucial step, you know, even if, you know, we're only setting the ball rolling at this point, you know, when we're facing the COVID-19?
I think at this moment only the government has just floated the idea, and it was started with the statement of Asad Umar. At this moment, expecting that we are presenting or we are formulating a formal proposal, I think it is premature to say. Once we actually make a draft or a proposal and we put up for you know, Parliament and for consultation with the opposition parties, I think
but Jawad Sahab, leave the opposition parties. I'm talking about your own political party. I'm talking about the PTI at this time. Is there disagreement within the PTI about this perhaps not being the right time? And, you know, like Sadiqul Farooq Sahab is saying, it's not simply legislation. It's not simply, you know, getting into the normal course of work at times of, you know, in Corona times, which is what you're saying, that, you know, perhaps since we don't know when this will end, we need to perhaps start normalizing as much as we can, you know, our work and our government's policies, all of the stuff that we need to keep on doing. We can't, you know, halt it indefinitely. But this itself is a constitutional amendment. This will require 2/3 majority, all of that. And it will require agreement, therefore agreement from all political parties. So is there a disagreement between your own political party?
There's no disagreement between among the PTI members. The decision is in principle. However, like I said, that the draft proposal has not yet been finalized, and so that can be one reason that everybody may not be able to fully present or clarify or explain that what exactly is the objective of the whole proposal. So regarding the 2/3 majority, you know, you require 2/3 majority before coronavirus and you require it after the coronavirus. So, I mean, that reality is there. That is a law. That's a constitution. Nobody's denying that. The efforts which will be required to create consensus, these efforts will always be there, whether it is now or it is in the future. The first thing is about floating an idea that there is a need for that, and there is no harm that a deliberation should start on that without really actually challenging the time, because nobody has started this constitutional process. If the constitutional process of the 18th Amendment is started,
Jawad Sahab, the constitutional process will only start if you take all the stakeholders on board and there is some tacit agreement to start off with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is why I use the word that the 18th Amendment proposal is yet to be finalized and deliberated and presented. An idea has been floated, which only highlights the need of this amendment, reversal of this amendment, or bringing changes in the amendment, in the 18th Amendment.
Right. Okay, Jawad Sahab, I will come back to you. I'm going to go to Kundi Sahab with this. Kundi Sahab, do you agree that if there is a draft presented to you, like Jawad Sahab is saying, that you will, you know, you can consult on it, you can form an agreement on it, the PPP can then decide whether it can support it or not, or whether it will agree to tweak some changes in it or not? What are your thoughts on that, if a draft is presented? Ji, can you hear me? I don't think.
Can you hear me now?
Kundi Saab, let me, I'll ask you the question again. What I'm trying to say is, if you are presented with a draft by the government, if there are certain changes in it, they want to tweak certain changes, is there a possibility that the PPP will agree on a draft? Is there a possibility we will agree to consult on it at this time?
You know, our first priority, People's Party first priority and Sindh government first priority is coronavirus.
Right.
This is not the time. Why? First of all, if they want to bring this thing, for example, why are in such a hurry that they want to bring these things? And for that, they need consensus. Right now, on Corona war, you can't see whole Pakistan on one page. There was no APC held. There was no opposition parties taken on board. We are saying continuously to the federal government that we want to focus on coronavirus, but it was deliberately done or whatever. There were few ministers who were always bashing Sindh government and Sindh government, nothing else. This is the war. We have to be together. But
right.
they didn't.
Kundi Saab,
So for 18th amendment, you have to bring it all the stakeholders together because you need a two-third majority. Two-third majority. You don't. For that, opposition should be on board. But that's constitutional amendment. I told you that if you want to bring some other constitutional amendment, on 19th amendment, there is no compromise. People's Party leadership and everybody has said that we won't compromise on 18th amendment, and we can't roll back the 18th amendment.
Right. You won't compromise on it, but you're also talking about the fact that, of course, the government and the center, the provinces and the center need to be on one page at this time, at this crucial juncture in time when we are faced with such a huge crisis of an international magnitude. But what about all of this crosstalk, if for want of a better word, between the center and Sindh government? What's behind that? Why can't there be an accord between the center and the Sindh government at this time? Like you mentioned, there can't be more need for that kind of smooth relationship between the center and its provinces than now at any other time. So why can't there be that kind of a relationship at this time?
If you take the press conferences or press talk or whatever you say, always when Chief Minister Singh comes with his cabinet members, when they do press talk, they always support the federal government. They always say that whenever they had Skype conference or whatever, video conference with the Asad Umar, the health minister is doing it, CM is doing it sometimes with the Prime Minister, and they always appreciate that we want to be on board. They never come with any minister. When you're federal minister, like you take Ali Zaidi or Faisal Wada sitting in Karachi bashing Sindh Hukumat, if there is any lack of coordination or lack of work, you should say that you should guide us that Sindh government should do this to improve these things. But if you straight away start criticizing or doing this is not the way to do it. Now look at the situation. Up till now, the Prime Minister, who is the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he has not visited. He has visited all the provinces, but unfortunately he has not visited Sindh up till now.
But Kundi Saab, we've had about discussions between the way to go forward to tackle the coronavirus. There was the center is saying, and the PTI government is saying that the way to go forward, perhaps the way that it was dealt with in Sindh was perhaps too aggressively, and the way that was perhaps not the right way to deal with the crisis at that time. And therefore, there was that kind of a disagreement behind and the crosstalk between the center and the government that started in this time. Isn't that true?
No, when Sindh went to the lockdown,
handling of the crisis.
When Sindh was having lockdown, strict lockdown, and we said it should be, we were being criticized. But after 2-3 days, same thing happened in Punjab. They started the same lockdown. Then Balochistan also, and then KP also came with the lockdown thing. And right now they are also doing this, also asking people to stay at home, don't come out unnecessarily, this and that, which was Sindh government saying. So because we saw it in China and other countries that they did these type of things and they controlled it. But right now, if you see, patients are increasing day by day. If you see Islamabad today, we had in I-10 or I-9, they have been I-10, some areas have been locked down. Similarly, in Sindh, Punjab, everywhere the patients are increasing. I can't say that the patients are decreasing. But thing is that we have to increase the testing things. We are not. We should increase the tests also. That test should be increased in all provinces. But if I say that, if I start criticizing that now the deaths are KPK death ratio is more than other provinces, this is not good, because we have to fight against it. I will not say that Sindh death rate is low and KPK is high, or patients are there is high. We are not in competition for this. We have to fight Corona all over Pakistan. We will not say this.
I will come back to you. I'm going to go to Jawad Saab. Ji, Jawad Saab, it's interesting that at the very least that even when we are confronted with this kind of a human crisis of an international magnitude, there is still disagreement, and we can see loopholes in the relationship between the centre and the Sindh government. When we can't have that kind of crisis between the centre and the Sindh government at this time on a crisis like Corona, do you think that there is a possibility that there will be agreement on an issue like the 18th Amendment, at this time particularly?
Disagreement is part of democracy. And there should not be any problem if government and opposition disagree with each other on multiple issues. I would say that as far as coronavirus is concerned, we have created a central coordination center. And I'm sure that every decision takes place in that coordination center in the presence of all provinces, in consultation with all provinces, and in consultation with all federal and provincial vital departments. So I don't think so that, we should say that there is no agreement. I think there is a complete consensus on the actions which are being taken at the moment, whether by the federal government or the provincial government. However, in the media sometimes there are some aggressive statements from both sides, also from the federal and sometimes from the provincial ministers. Nisar Khodo's recent statement, is one of those examples where he went overboard. So I would not would like to conclude that the government and the provinces are not in agreement on the coronavirus crisis. And as far as 18th Amendment is concerned, I very clearly mentioned that this is an idea which has been floated, not in the parliament. It has been floated, I would say, in the media. It has come out of one of the spokespersons of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, but it has not been formally presented or formally placed. So at the moment it is an idea, and on idea probably there is no need for any agreement, because the agreement needs some agenda, some proposal, some draft on which perhaps we can
You're
deliberate.
saying that unless it's formalized and then perhaps we can actually talk about whether there's agreement or not. I understand. I'll come back to you. I'm going to go to Sadiqul Farooq Saab. Ji, Farooq Saab, do you think that there is that kind of agreement that Jawad Saab is talking about? He's saying that there is, it's a prerogative of the provinces to disagree with the central government, but that does not mean that there is disagreement between the provinces and the centre. Do you agree with that?
I couldn't hear Kunti Saab due to some problem. But as
Jawad
far as
Saab, we were just talking to Jawad Saab.
Yes. Jawad Saab is concerned. Jawad Saab cannot say with proof that there is complete agreement. The fact is that Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, does not agree with the lockdown. That's why the doctors, the team of senior doctors has disagreed, and they suggested complete lockdown for success, for saving the lives of the people of Pakistan. But very important things which I have to put forth is that as far as the 18th Amendment is concerned, it is not only the issue of Sindh and center disagreement or tension. Actually, this amendment was passed unanimously with the support of all federating units, unanimously. It was not two-thirds majority, unanimously. And there are very sensitive issues. So at this time, when the issue of 18th Amendment is being touched, it will bring serious repercussions. So without bringing all parties, political parties, not Sindh government, People's Party, PMLN, JUI, ANP, and other parties, without bringing them into one fold under one flag, or let me say that consensus, any amendment will prove negative and destructive. Actually, the problem is not just 1 minute. Actually, the problem is that federal government feels it has short of funds, and its solution is not to curtail the powers of federating units. Its solution is good economic policies. Due to bad economic policies, tax collection and other relevant economic issues are showing negative trends. So they should actually introduce
But
good
Siddiqul
economic
Farooq Sahib, at this time all over the world we've seen the economies take a hit, and we were seeing economic indicators show that perhaps things were on the mend as far as economy, our own economy, Pakistan's economy was concerned. But now, of course, with the situation that the way things are happening, we have been hit, as is the rest of the world, as far as the economy is concerned.
Let me draw your attention and the attention of viewers towards pre-coronavirus economic conditions. Just keep facts and figures indicators before you. That was also a corona. So this is second corona. So I don't agree with this. They don't know economy. They lack excellence. They lack the vision, economic vision. Therefore, the country is failing. Because let me also recall that President Alvi said 5 months before that 24 lakh people have rendered jobless. They have been rendered. And more 24 lakhs will go out of job during the year 2020-21. So now Corona has worsened that position, but actually the economy was almost destroyed by PTI government because they did not have any economic vision.
Let me go to Jawad Sahab. Jawad Sahab, you've heard, I hope you've heard what Siddiqul Farooq Sahab is saying. He's saying that the economy has been messed up single-handedly by the PTI government, and they haven't been able to, actually revive the economy till now, regardless of corona or no corona. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I would like to answer Sadiq Sahab mentioned about Prime Minister Imran Khan's apprehensions about the lockdown. As far as lockdown is concerned, with the 18th Amendment, provincial governments, they have the authority that what kind of lockdown they want to adopt in a province. So no province can complain that we are bounded by the federal government about the intensity of the lockdown. All provinces can exercise whatever they deem suitable for their province. So there should not be, the blame of smart lockdown or soft lockdown or hard lockdown on the federal government. It is the choice, discretion of the provinces, what they actually want to do. So if Sindh government thinks that there is a need of tough lockdown, nobody's stopping them. They can do that. Now, the second question, which was about the economy. If you can recall the economic indicators before the start of coronavirus, Pakistan almost reached to negligible. And there was increase in the foreign reserve, there was stability in the dollar, there was stability in the stock exchange, there was increase in the exports. So every economic indicator was showing growth. And obviously, after the pandemic has started, I mean, the whole country economic system has collapsed. Nothing is working. There's no business, there's no industry. So obviously, there will be no revenue generation. So when there is no revenue generation, there are no exports. So we are not earning anything. So the challenges have become very tough. There was nothing wrong with the economy. We had managed to come out of the bankruptcy situation which we faced soon after PTI government coming into the power. So after 1 year, we were quite in a safer position. We were growing, we were doing good. But then it was unfortunately the corona pandemic. And now, like any other country in the world, we are facing the economic challenges. Our absorption capacity of the economic shocks is very thin. We don't have that kind of resources which perhaps European countries or America or China have. So we were on a very thin margin. We had just come out of a very bad economic situation, which was on the verge of bankruptcy. And we just managed to come out of that. And then we were facing this coronavirus. And now the impact of coronavirus on the economy, I would not deny that. I would accept that there are going to be tougher days ahead. We have serious problem of earning, which is through the exports. We have serious challenges in the revenue generation, which depends on the business and industrial activities, which at the moment are negligible. So these are multiple challenges which we are facing, but obviously it's a crisis once in a century, and we will do our best, and that's what Imran Khan, Prime Minister, is doing, introducing various reforms, introducing various policies, whether it is construction industry, whether it is giving loans to small businessmen, whether it is bringing down the oil prices, and whether it is the concept of going towards a soft lockdown so that we can coexist with coronavirus, carrying out our economic activities, and keeping us safe from the corona. So I think that's the strategy which he is trying to do. And this strategy is now being adopted by many European countries. If you look at Italy, if you look at France, if you look at Germany, Norway, many countries, they have already started coming back to the normal activities. Even the opening of schools
Right.
is
Jawad
being
Sahab, I'm going to
announced.
go to Faisal Kareem Kundi. Ji, Kundi Sahab, do you think that what are some of the measures you feel we can take to perhaps get the best out, deal with the situation as it is with a smart lockdown? Can we some of the measures you feel that can be taken to actually prevent more people from being affected by the crisis, by the virus, and also to deal with the crisis that of course will result from the virus?
Look, Maruk, whatever Jawad Saab has said and you are saying about the soft lockdown, thing is that he has mentioned a couple of countries which have fought against corona, or they are not having soft lockdown, or their schools or things are open. Thing is, when in those countries, when government announced there is a lockdown, it means lockdown. Nobody is coming out of house, nothing happening. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, when we announced hard lockdown or whatever, our normal life in rural areas and these areas are still carrying on. And especially in urban areas, because urban areas life was same like before, but they were not, people were not maintaining social distance or taking care of it, like not to go outside, not to be like bulging with people or something like this. Unfortunately, in KT, one of our advisors who went on picnic, he got this, he was a local government advisor. He went to picnic and he had corona positive, and his photographer got corona positive. We are the role models. politicians, chief ministers, prime ministers who are in the offices, they are the role model. They have to come up with the on the media with this social distance, with the mask or something to, and ask people to maintain social distance. So we hope and pray that we should win this war against Corona. We believe that people are suffering, their businesses are suffering, economy is suffering, everything is suffering. You can mention anything, they are suffering. But thing is, we are at war. In war, you don't have choices. In war, you are not at home, you are not in basement or by choice. You are not sending your children to school by choice. You are not going to close your business by choice. Everything happening in war is not by your choice. When you are on war, then you are war. So we hope that all the government, all the political parties will join hands together and we will fight against Corona. And inshallah, we will win the war against Corona.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Ahmed Jawad Saab, thank you for being with us. Siddiqul Farooq Saab, thank you for joining us. Faisal Kareem Kundi Saab, thank you for your valuable opinion. As far as this time is concerned, certainly it's a difficult time. Certainly, it's a time where political accord and political consultation should be on an all-time high. This is a time where all problems, all solutions will come out of political discussion, political consultation, and one hopes that all the political parties, the center, the provinces will find that kind of accord, will find that kind of the result that can come out of consultation, and we hope that the unity that is needed at this time can be seen, and the leadership combined with the unity that can actually bring us out of this very real crisis that confronts us at this time. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.